Hi there, my name is Lieutenant Sinoviel, aka Professor Bolkenberg. And in today's video, I'm gonna debunk the main science-based lifting principle, which is stimulus to fatigue ratio, which is lots of things in common from this, such as optimal technique, tier S versus tier A versus tier B exercises, and all sort of things like this. The problem is that everything that I mentioned is highly, I would say even anti-scientific, and I'm gonna use the real scientific methods to show you why. So, science-based lifters think like this. There is an exercise such as leg extensions, for instance, and it's better than squats in quad growth because it's better when we compare stimulus to fatigue ratio. Is it truth? Probably it is, but there is a problem. As Immanuel Kant said, that you cannot define the universal truth, because something that is truthful about this object or the function of this object also can be a false statement when we're talking about different object or a different function of this object. What's going on is that you pick leg extensions and compare it with squats, and you see, okay, leg extensions are better. Now you pick another exercise, such as leg curls, and you see it's the same thing. Okay, leg curls are better. Then you compare another exercise, such as good bad girl machine, and on and on. And after it, you come into absolutely idiotic conclusion that as all these exercises are better in isolation, no pun intended, it means that you have to do all these exercises, and it's gonna be better than doing squats. But you fail to understand that squats is not the quad exercise or the hamstring exercise. It is the whole body exercise. It's like quads are working, adductors are working, hamstrings are working, glutes, abs, obliques, diaphragm, spine erectors, all the back muscles, all the posterior chain muscles actually. I can't even name a muscle that is not being stimulated with squats, probably pectorials. Even shoulders are stimulated by just, the steady hold. So there's a little bit of stimulus, right? So you don't take it into consideration, do you? To measure the stimulus from squats, you have to do at least a dozen of different exercises. And now, you're telling me that maxing out in like 10, 15 different lifts is less fatiguing. So you see what I'm saying, guys? You picking the exercise separately and see that in isolation, it is better than squats. And then you pick another exercise and another, but you don't summarize the overall fatigue. You see? It is a logical fallacy. So the problem is that all those guys who call themselves science-based lifters, they don't think scientifically, because what they do is that they quote all the scientific studies and they apply formal logic to some particular subjects. In this case, leg extensions versus squats. So following the formal logic, they are right, but it's a wrong method scientifically because it's called sophistry. Jesus freaking Christ, it's the same idea as Zeno's paradox, like Achilles versus tortoise. So the Achilles can never overtake the tortoise no matter how faster he is, because you can chop this distance for an infinite amount of pieces, which doesn't work again because you apply just laws of formal logic, but you're not taking into consideration that like space and infinite and etc, etc. In this case, it's the same idea. You just pick the idea separately and try to advocate for it without taking into consideration all the other factors. So this is why it's absolutely anti-scientific, and I do not understand how all those people who call themselves science-based lifters can call themselves so. Another science that I'm gonna use is physics. It turns out that all those science-based lifters, they contradict the laws of physics. In this case, when we talk about stimulus to fatigue ratio and all those optimal exercises and all sort of crap like this, it contradicts the law of conservation of energy. So many people have a very wrong perception. They say something like, this exercise is better because it like stimulates your muscles better, or like this technique is better and blah blah blah. Like in their minds, like the weight that you do in the exercise with is being moved by some like magic force. But the problem is that the weight is moved because your muscles flex. So your muscles flex, they produce some force, and they consume some energy. So when you think of some optimal versus not optimal, like rack pulls are not optimal, what do you expect? Like the weight is moved with some like telekinesis or what? Like you do realize that if it's better stimulus to fatigue, you create this better stimulus spending less energy. So what did you do? You just invented a perpetuum mobile. Congratulations. But it's not possible, I believe. And the only way when it can work, when we're talking about endurance training. So for instance, if you squat 100 rep max or something like this, you will grow some muscles, you will become stronger, obviously, because there is some strength component involved in this 100 rep squatting, right? But the problem is that you will need lots of endurance. So there is a thing, if you spend some energy and effort and time in progressing in 100 rep squats, you will get stronger. But if you spend the same amount of energy and put the same effort in progressing something like 10 rep max, for instance, you'll get much stronger. The reason is that because you don't need that much endurance whilst you're squatting for 10 reps. But it's not because of stimulus to fatigue ratio crap, it's because you can't develop that good when you develop it simultaneously in multiple directions. That's it. And the third thing, which is really important, even if you imagine that somebody wants to develop his quads by putting the least amount of effort, first of all, I can't even imagine a situation where we need to develop just one muscle group. And the second thing, your body will stop you from overdeveloping one part of your body over the others. You know, there are some ladies who go to a gym to do some booty workout, basically, and nothing else. The problem is that they don't really grow that much. Because when you have overdeveloped glutes, for instance, but really weak compared to glutes, hip flexors, quads, adductors, hamstrings, core muscles, spine erectors, you will likely have some knee pain, hip pain, lower back pain, or altogether. Look at, for instance, arm wrestlers. Most of them can't even extend their arms fully, and they have terrible tendinitis because like 99% of the work they do is just so, like, you know, this direction and never like push and pressing and something like this. But following this logic, you know, they should have like tremendously huge forearms and bicep muscles, etc. But no, they don't have like those muscles more developed than like powerlifters, strongman, bodybuilders, despite the fact they spend like 10 times more time on it. So even if you imagine that somebody really needs the stimulus to fatigue ratio strategy to work out on just one particular muscle group, it's likely not gonna happen. And even if you force your body to grow just one muscle group or the others, you'll have joint pain or you'll get injured. So, you know, it's like, it's even if naturally it's not possible, but it's a different topic. So I didn't really want to talk about this. What I wanted to say is that all the science-based lifters, they are a lack of the real scientific way of thinking. And even Jeff Nippert said something like that barbell rows are better than all those cable exercises, but he put barbell rows in tier B and all like cable exercises in tier S. Like, why? Did he mean that all this tier S exercises are bad just in isolation? So formally, he was right. But guys, as I said, it does work like this. And all those people who advocate for the science-based exercises, optimal techniques, and all this crap, they whether do not understand what they're even talking about. Because they think that they are science-based when they just went on pubmed.com and basically quoted a couple of studies. Like, guys, this won't make you a scientist because everybody can do it. What makes you a scientist, as already mentioned, is your way of analyzing information and your ability to use different methods of critical thinking. This is what makes you a scientist in the first place. Like, all those things that you're trying to push as science, it's nothing but just data, and you have to know how to analyze this data. And they don't. Or some of them actually do, but they use science as some tool to make their opinion more valuable. So guys, enough said. It seems like science-based lifting is starting to decline and losing its popularity. People literally mock science-based lifting, and I hope after watching this video you got an idea why all the stimulus to fatigue ratio, tier S tier B exercises, optimal technique, and all sort of things that science-based lifting is literally based upon is nothing but just inability to analyze the data and nothing else. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.